place in the NFC East up for grabs for Philadelphia tonight as division rival New York comes to town in prime time. It is Thursday night football. The Eagles have a 7-game win streak going against the Giants, and they are hoping to keep it alive tonight. Here is your weather report from our friends at NBC 10. 74 degrees and real sticky out there tonight in South Philadelphia. A very exciting clash between division foes. Great to have you with us here on the Kickoff Show presented by Axalta. I'm Amy Campbell, joined as always by Fran Duffy. And Fran, 2 1-5 teams here, or 2 1-win teams here, I should say. The Eagles now head into a 3-game stretch against division opponents with everything on the line. The NFC East wide open. It starts tonight with a win over the New York Giants.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, this stretch here is as pivotal as any in the season. When you've got Giants, Cowboys, Giants, so much lies on these next 3 games. This is really a huge stretch for the Eagles.
Wide open, all the potential in the world. All right, let's head back out to the link as the Birds prepare to take on the Giants. The warm-ups, of course, as always, brought to us courtesy of PA Lottery. And as we take a look at the guys getting ready for tonight's matchup, Fran, let's start with one of the big storylines here, and that is the offensive line. We know some guys are going to be back tonight. Lane Johnson should be back tonight. Matt Pryor is active. We'll see how much we see him tonight. But again, a 6th offensive line combination in 7 games for the Eagles. Just continuing to shuffle things around, and it's a huge boost, of course, to have those guys back tonight.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Lane Johnson and his return, the resume kind of speaks for itself, right? When he's on the field, the Eagles considerably have much more success, and that helps Carson Wentz. That helps the entire offensive line. Really, just having his presence back certainly helps. And then you get Deshaun Jackson back into the lineup. That obviously is a huge, huge boost for this pass game, for this receiving core. Really excited to see what these guys look like tonight. Obviously, going to be without Miles Sanders, going to be without Zach Ertz. Obviously, 2 huge weapons there for Carson Wentz, but that has been the tale of 2020, right? The Eagles are continuing to have to find new ways to move the football. They're going to have to do it without number 26 and 86 here tonight.
All right, let's take a look at the offensive starters here for this team. Let's go back to that offensive line. Starting at left guard tonight, Sua Opeta, a guy who has not gotten a start yet for the Eagles this season. What can you tell us about this guy?
Yeah, former undrafted free agent, and this is the guy that was really athletic in college. I remember studying him, when he was coming out, and this kid is really athletic, really nasty, loves to finish blocks, really gets after people both in the run game and in the passing game. He is not a passive player in the least. Coming into the NFL, his big thing was he just needed to get bigger and stronger, and so that's really what these last 2 years have been about for Sua Opeta, is just getting him bigger, getting him stronger, a little bit more technically refined. He's kind of worked in over the last few weeks as a 6th offensive lineman, an extra guy along the line of scrimmage, basically an extra tight end. Now he gets to start here at left guard, his most natural position. Excited to see him here in action tonight opposite Nate Herbig and next to Jordan Mailata, who continues to impress each and every week.
Yeah, this is a young offensive line and guys who have had their number called when maybe they weren't expecting it, and they've continued to step up. Nate Herbig met with the media earlier this week, and he just had a lot of great things to say. He was talking about Jason Kelce, how it was hard to even imagine playing next to him because he looked up to him for so long. He said, Jason Kelce for president. It's kind of weird being out there with him. My whole life I always looked up to him. He's Jason Kelce. And then, of course, people asked him, what has it been like, shuffling through all these different offensive line combinations? And he said, very simply, honestly, I don't even think about it. I just trust whoever's next to me. We're going to get the job done. So I just love his vibe. He is totally unfazed by just all of the adversity that this unit has faced, and he's been playing really well.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Nate Herbig, I mean, he has done a nice job over the course of the last couple of weeks, and he's bounced, remember, from right guard to left guard, so he's had to play a couple of different spots. He was Jason Kelce's primary backup last year as a rookie as a center, so now just being able to show off his versatility, I think he's done a really admirable job stepping in. Obviously, at the guard spot, it was not necessarily planned for him to get this amount of playing time, but he's done a nice job. Obviously, it has not been perfect, it doesn't always look pretty, but he's always been able to get the job done. He's not looked overwhelmed. It's never looked too big for him, and I think that's a bright thing for his future.
Let's flip it to the other side of the ball and take a look at the defensive starters for tonight. Last week, Will Parks came back healthy and was a contributor here, and now tonight, Avonte Maddox will be healthy. We could see him working in there as well in the secondary, a unit that is getting some players back. How big of a boost is it now after multiple injuries to this unit as well? Now they're starting to get some of their guys back.
Yeah, and last week we saw Nickel Roby-Coleman get the start at outside corner. We'll see how often he's rotated in there alongside Maddox tonight. But I think when you look at this secondary now, as that starting lineup there, this is the first time that this group has looked this way all season long, because the one name that's not on that list is Will Parks, as you mentioned, Amy, and he is going to play a pivotal part for this defense. They plan to play with a lot of three safeties on the field. They call it big nickel and big dime, where Will Parks can come in and he's basically a quasi linebacker, and he can play close to the line of scrimmage. He can cover running backs. He can cover tight ends. That allows Jalen Mills and Rodney McLeod to be a little bit more versatile, and it also does, gives them a little bit more flexibility from a play calling standpoint, Amy, where they don't always need to play with three linebackers on the field when the other team comes out with two tight ends. The Giants are a big two tight end offense, a lot of 12 personnel from that group. So I'm interested to see how the Eagles try and match up. My guess is we'll see a lot of big nickel with Jalen Mills, Rodney McLeod, and Will Parks all on the field together.
Let's break down this Giants offense. They have struggled this season under offensive coordinator Jason Garrett, the former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. Statistically, it's one of the worst offenses in the league. They are tied for last in total offense, averaging 275.3 yards per game. 30th in rushing offense, averaging 87.8 yards per game, 30th in passing offense, 31st in points per game, and 25th in red zone as well. That's 25% effectiveness in the red zone. That's 31st in the NFL. In that rushing offense, Daniel Jones, the quarterback, is the team's leading rusher. So they have not produced the way that they intended, especially with Saquon Barkley, their stud running back, out for the season. So all of that being said, Fran, of course, every NFL team poses many challenges, but I'm thinking this is the night we see the Eagles defense dominate the way that we have seen them dominate in the past. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the big thing when you look at this Giants offense, you mentioned the loss of Saquon Barkley. That has been pivotal. And then also the offensive line just has not been up to snuff. They've spent a lot of money in free agency. They've spent draft capital. They just took the number 4 overall pick, Andrew Thomas, to be their starter at left tackle. And he has not been great so far this season. According to NFL research, he's given up the second most amount of sacks in the NFL amongst offensive linemen. According to Pro Football Focus, he's given up 24 hurries, 31 pressures. He just has not been good. And that doesn't even count the fact that he was benched last week. So all of those numbers don't even take into account that he missed a whole game, right? So he has just not played well, and that has really kept this offense from going up to the level that they were hoping for. And it's not just him. The rest of that offensive line has not been great. They're not getting great center play from Nick Gates. They're not getting great right tackle play from Cameron Fleming. So I think when you look at this group as a whole, yeah, the Eagles defensive line, that's a matchup that not just, the Eagles should win it. This could be a potential dominant performance from this group, from Derek Barnett and Josh Sweat and Fletcher Cox. No Malik Jackson tonight, but Javon Hargrave, the Eagles gave a lot of money to in free agency. This is going to be a coming out party here for Javon Hargrave. This group right here that we're looking at right here on your screen, I expect them to eat tonight against this Giants offense.
Ooh, and you can tell they're feeling it too. I'm also thinking Hassan Ridgeway could have some opportunity tonight with all of those things that you just broke down. Let's talk about Daniel Jones a little bit. The Giants quarterback, as I mentioned, he's currently the team's leading rusher, which is not really what you want to see when their offense is trying to do what this offense is. But Doug Peterson said earlier this week, look, Daniel Jones, he's streaky. He's a guy who can get hot. We cannot underestimate what he can do to us.
Yeah, he is a talented player, and obviously a second-year quarterback with a not great situation around him, right? I mean, the weapons have not been great. It looks like they're going to get wide receiver Sterling Shepard back tonight, so at least they'll kind of be at full strength at the wide receiver position, but they just have not had good pass catchers around him. The run game is non-existent. The offensive line, it's basically been 4 turnstiles in front of Daniel Jones. It has not been a good supporting cast so far for the second-year quarterback, but he has shown potential. He has shown flashes. He's got a good arm. He's very athletic. The Eagles defensive line, they've got to keep him contained. He's not obviously the same caliber athlete of Lamar Jackson that the Eagles saw last week, but this guy can scoot. He can he had a 40-plus yard run last week. He's got the ability to beat you with his legs. So the Eagles have got to keep him contained both as a runner and on scrambles as a passer as well. He can get outside the pocket and make you pay with his feet. So the Eagles have got to keep Jones contained. Don't let him get outside and beat you with his legs because he's their leading rusher right now. I mean, without no Saquon Barkley, Devontae Freeman has been kind of the workhorse running back, but it's Jones who is giving them the big plays on the ground.
Well, and of course we mentioned that the Giants are not having the season they wanted. They have a new coaching staff. Joe Judge, the former Patriots special teams coordinator. And for a team that is facing as much adversity as the Giants have, these guys are very bought into their new coaching staff. They seem to really like Joe Judge a lot. And there is a lot of fight in this team. They are not kind of mailing it in or they don't seem frustrated. They are playing hard for this new coach.
I think that's a really great point. You have not seen those cracks in the foundation yet, and I think that's a testament to Joe Judge and the rest of that coaching staff, particularly defensively and on special teams. I think that this group has come to play. Offensively, they're still trying to figure it out. I think Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator, said it best in a press conference a couple weeks ago. He said, we're still trying to figure out what we're good at, right? And I think that kind of sums up where they're at offensively. But defensively, they are very multiple. They're going to play a lot of man coverage. They play a lot of bodies, both in the front and the back end. They're going to be aggressive. A lot of man, like I said. So I think when you look at this defensive football team, they're not going to back down. They're not going to go down without a fight. They've had some pretty good performances against some pretty good offenses so far this year.
Oh, I love seeing the energy from this defense over here as they're breaking it down. Back to that Giants defense, statistically much better than the offense, as you mentioned, Fran. They're 12th in total defense. They're 8th in rushing defense, 16th in passing, 16th in points allowed. They're allowing 25.3 points per game. And in third down defense, they are that's where they really struggle. That's where the opportunity is. So opportunities for this offense, especially on third down, to continue to keep the drives alive, which is something that the Eagles have actually, some games have done really, really well, and some games they have struggled on third down on offense.
Yeah, I mean, third down a lot of the times comes down to protection for the quarterback, and I think that is what can allow him to execute. Last week, the Eagles could not protect, and that kept them from having a lot of success on third down. The week before, they were much more efficient, and that showed up in the third down box score, right? So I think ultimately it comes down to, can you protect on third down? They are not a high-volume blitz team in New York. So I think when you look at the test the Eagles have faced the last 2 weeks defensively with the Pittsburgh Steelers and with the Baltimore Ravens, it's a different kind of outfit here tonight with the Giants. They're not going to be a blitz-heavy group with corners and safeties and linebackers coming. They'll bring them at more in terms of a four-man rush with stunts. You've got a good group of defensive tackles there, Dexter Lawrence, Dalvin Tomlinson. They've got a good group there to be able to work with, but I think really what you're going to see is heavy dose of man coverage. They'll try and do some disguise and they'll mix in some zone, but ultimately the Eagles offensive line, they have to be able to protect. If they can do that here, I think that Carson Wentz will be able to find some of those matchups in the secondary for them to be able to win.
All right, let's get a little more into the Eagles offense. Let's talk about these guys right here, the running game. You mentioned Miles Sanders out tonight. A lot of opportunity for Boston Scott. He played very well against the Giants last season, as fans should remember. Of course, opportunity for Corey Clement and Jason Huntley as well, rounding out the running back group.
Yeah, and I would expect this guy right here, number 2, Jalen Hurts, to be a part of the run game as well. I think when you look at this run game, they have not had the consistency that you would want, right? I mean, we've seen the big chunks the last 2 weeks. Miles Sanders going off for big runs, a long touchdown, 81 yards against Pittsburgh, the 74-yard run that was fumbled into the end zone that was recovered by J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Those 2 chunk plays are great. They count. They go into the final statistics. But when you take those plays out, the run game just has not been efficient enough. They have not been able to consistently move the football. So I think when you look at this run game tonight, it's a good group of defensive tackles. As I mentioned on the inside, you've got to be able to handle those guys. Try and see if you can get Boston Scott running. I'll be interested to see what the Eagles do to mix things up. Because if you go back to those games where Boston Scott went off against New York last year, they got very creative with getting him to the perimeter. I'm interested to see what they've got in store tonight for this Giants defense.
All right, and this guy now a household name really around the country after what he's done the last 3 weeks. In 3 games this season, he has played in 3 games. The last 3 weeks. He has 50-plus yards and a touchdown in each of his 3 games since he was promoted. He is 4th in receiving yards in that time in the entire NFL with 284, and 2nd in the NFL in receiving touchdowns. A go-to target for Carson Wentz. The two of them have something special, are continuing to build something special. He has come on strong and is solidifying a big role here in this Eagles offense, Fran.
You know, and Carson Wentz has shown a lot of faith in him, right? I mean, he's allowed it. You saw that touchdown last week. It was against a cover 0 blitz, an all-out blitz in the plus red zone, in the high red zone. And Carson Wentz basically got the ball out quickly. They couldn't block everybody. They sent an extra guy, and he was able to throw it off his back foot and say, Travis, go get it. And that's exactly what Fulgham did. He's shown the ability to go up and play above the rim in using that the basketball lexicon there. He'll go up and play in the low post and come down with those boards, and that's what Travis Fulgham has done each and every week so far. We saw him with that big catch against San Francisco for a touchdown down the left sideline under the lights in prime time. He did it again against Pittsburgh. He did it last week against Baltimore. Let's see if he can put on Act 4 here in front of the home crowd in prime time.
Well, what I love about what he did against Baltimore was at this point, people know who he is. They know that Carson Wentz is going to target him, and he was making big-time plays over really good cornerbacks in the NFL, like Marlon Humphrey, Jimmy Smith, Marcus Peters. He was going up and getting it. I love to see that from him. Let's touch on the tight end group right now because we know Zach Ertz was recently put on IR. Dallas Goedert remains on IR. Richard Rodgers will be the starting tight end, and he's played more snaps this season than in the past 2 seasons combined. And then also Jason Kroom elevated from the practice squad again. He had a touchdown last week, and Hakeem Butler as well. So not the tight end group that they went into with the season, but some guys that have been working to get a little bit more productive or have been producing a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think when you look at this group, obviously it's not the group that the Eagles were hoping for starting the season, right? You lose Zach Ertz, you lose Dallas Goedert. That's why the Eagles played so much 12 personnel with 2 tight ends, because if you're trying to get your best players on the field, some of those best players are Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. That changes when those guys are injured, when they're on the sideline. So I would expect tonight, honestly, to see more 3 and 4 receiver packages from the Eagles tonight. I think when you start to look at, obviously you get Deshaun Jackson back, but even the development of the young guys, not just Fulgham, but John Hightower. He's going to have his ups and downs, but he had that 50-yard catch last week. Quez Watkins has continued to show nice flashes. I know it hasn't showed up in the box score, but when you watch the film, he's a big kid who can run, and he ran some nice routes last week. So I'm excited to see more of Quez Watkins here in the near future. Continuing to watch these young receivers try and develop alongside that guy, number 11, is going to be big. I would expect tonight we see a lot more multiple receiver sets, 3-4 receivers on the field at one time.
Well, of course, it's a Thursday night game. It's a short week. Doug Peterson has won his first 4 Thursday night games, and he laughed earlier this week when the media asked him about this, and he said, look, my wife actually jokes with me, like, look, you can put a game plan together in a day and win a Thursday night game. Why can't you do that on Sunday? He said there's validity in keeping it all simple, and for the players, it's a bit more tunnel vision, a bit more focus. These guys were so anxious to get back out on the field tonight, of course, after the tough loss against Baltimore, but just to, like he said, keeping it a bit more simple. How does that short turnaround kind of provide some of that juice and simplicity?
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of relate, honestly, Amy, because I got to put together Eagles game plan every single week from a production standpoint, and on a short week, you've got a short week to get the show done. And I just felt at the end of getting this week's episode done, we had less to do at the end because we were really just efficient in getting everything done. You keep it simple, you're efficient with everything that you do, and all of a sudden, yeah, it's the end of the week. It's time to get ready for the game. And I think that's what the Eagles' strategy is every time they go into one of these Thursday night games.
I think that's a great metaphor, Fran. I seem to have the clearest mind that I've had in even breaking all of this down. And I was in my seat 20 minutes early, not intentionally. Normally, I'm running around frazzled before the show. So, look, the short turnaround, we're all keeping it simple, and it's working. Thanks again, of course, to our friends at PA Lottery for bringing us those warm-ups. All right, Fran, let's get into our keys for the game. What do you think the Eagles need to do in order to get the win tonight?
Well, the big thing is all about trying to beat man coverage with this Giants team. They play more 2-man coverage than anybody in the NFL. And I think when you look at 2-man coverage, it's kind of a unique. They play a lot on third down. And like I said, they do it more than anyone. 2-man coverage is all about two high safeties deep in the deep part of the field and straight man-to-man coverage across the board underneath. And those guys underneath are going to play really aggressive press man coverage. So with that being said, Carson Wentz, he's got to make what are called layered throws underneath the safety over top of those corners trailing in man-to-man coverage. What does that mean for the Eagles from a route standpoint? You're going to see those crossing routes as they're trying to run away from man-to-man coverage, so horizontal sideline to sideline routes. You'll also see pick plays, those little rub routes. The Eagles are very good at running these kind of rub routes on the perimeter. You'll see bunch concepts where 2 and 3 guys are stacked close together, and then you can kind of create those natural rub plays as well. And then a great way to attack 2 high safeties, you take those 2 outside receivers, you run them down the sideline, creates a lot of space in the middle of the field. Travis Fulgham hooked up with Carson Wentz on a play just like that on 3rd and long against Pittsburgh, against 2-man coverage. I would expect to see some plays like that tonight on 3rd down between those 2.
All right, and for me, what I'm looking for is something we've already touched on tonight is the offensive line protecting Carson Wentz, a 6th group of guys in 7 games. It's almost hard to believe that that is the case, but Carson Wentz needs to be protected against, we talked about it, an aggressive, talented New York Giants front, especially at those defensive tackle positions. That's going to be the key for me. He runs this offense. He needs to be protected back there, and it's a pretty simple one. Keep your quarterback upright. That's what I'm looking for tonight. All right, let's head back over to the link to check in with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick to see who they have their eyes on tonight.
Thank you, Amy. It's a beautiful night here at the link. First night home game this year. And Mr. Quick, who is your player to watch?
Tonight, I'm going to watch Darius Slay because Slay is probably going to travel and follow Darius Slayton. And I think that matchup is going to be a pivotal matchup in this ball game. I'm going to watch, and I hope tonight he'll get his first interception as a Philadelphia Eagle. I got to watch Slay tonight.
How long do you think it will be before I mess up Slayton versus Slay?
Not long.
I give myself 2 plays. My guy to watch is a great little guy out of Louisiana Tech. He came in twice last year against the Giants and had big games. Look for, in the absence of Miles Sanders, look for Boston Scott to break something big tonight. Okay, Amy, that's it from here. Back to you.
Merrill says I give myself 2 plays before I mess up Slay and Slayton. I love it. All right, Eagles alum Jason Avant spent 8 seasons in Philly, and this season has been working with the receivers as a coaching intern. The players have raved about how valuable it's been to work with Jason. He sat down with Mike Quick for this week's one-on-one interview presented by Pondla Hockey.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
Oh, I appreciate that. How you doing, Mike? It's always good to see you. Always, Mr. Quick, always.
Doing fantastic, man. Tell me about, before I get into the players, tell me about Jason Avant, the coach. And are you used to that coach already?
No, I'm not used to that at all. I'm here, and I'm trying my best to wrap my mind around that aspect. I've always been like a player that helped his teammates out and been the guy that they look to. So now it's kind of funny hearing that because I feel like I'm doing the same thing. I'm just not on the field doing it. It's the same thing.
Tell me, what is the most difficult part for you in dealing with the group that you have?
The personalities. You're juggling personalities. Everyone's from a different area, and that's the thing about football, right? So there's coaches that our guys had before us, and they were coached one way then, and mom and dad or whoever else, like, they had an influence in their lives. And there's a bunch of different personalities, and you have to figure out which way is best to motivate that particular player. And that's the NFL, because in college, the college coach can just go and tell you, you do this, or a high school coach can go and tell you, you do that, and you don't know. But the pros, they are grown men, and they have thoughts and ideas, and they know because they've been tested and tried different techniques. So you have to be able to understand the bunch and be able to coach different personalities.
So Jason, you played the position, I played the position, and we've been called divas. And after you work with these guys, who's the biggest diva? If you don't want to tell me, that's okay. But what's your sense of that, of us getting that moniker?
There's a lot of truth in it. There's a lot of truth in it. But so everyone's different, right? So you have a guy like G. Ward that picked himself up from his bootstraps. You know, no one's ever given him anything. He had to make it, being cut over and over again. You know, so a guy like that is going to be a little more reserved, a little more humble, because he has a holistic experience of being a practice squad player and then being on active roster, having some success. But then there's guys that have only known success because that's their talent level. So therefore they expect more, and therefore, you know, they may have that quote unquote swagger or style that will get them labeled as divas. But I think as long as you're pliable and you're coachable, I don't really care about the personality type. I care about it. Are you receptive to new information? But yes, there's a lot of guys that are, you know, quote unquote divas, meaning that, you know, you may not be able to coach them as hard, or they may have, you know, a personality that's bigger than the room. You know, when you're a confident guy, there's a lot of confident guys. Like, just think about it. How many people in this world that's going to go out there on a Sunday, there's a safety out there, it's on the line, and they want the ball, they want all the pressure, they believe that they're the best player on the field? There's not many people that are made like that, you know, so, and this is the group that's made like that, so therefore they're going to have that confidence. As a player, I didn't say that, but I definitely thought it. So, it's just the nature of the beast.
I get it. Jason, it was great visiting with you, man. The best of luck to you in your coaching career. I hope you continue to coach, because I know you've got a lot to give.
I appreciate that, and it means a lot coming from the legend of the 1 and 2, Harold Carmichael and Mike Quick, the best Eagles receivers now. There's no doubt about that.
I love it. Great stuff there. So, Fran, as I mentioned, players I've spoken with have said amazing things about the value of working with a guy like Jason, a very smart, cerebral receiver, great person. How valuable can it be to have a former player coaching with the team he played for? I mean, around here, that's a Super Bowl formula.
Yeah, it's exactly right. The Eagles have plenty of experience with that, right? There's plenty of guys on this coaching staff that are in his shoes, and I think what especially helps when you've got a guy that was in the locker room or in those meeting rooms with players that are still on the team. Deshaun Jackson was a young guy when when he first came in the league. Jason Avant was here already, right, and coaching him up, so he can validate that to his teammates now and say, look, listen to this guy. He helped me when I was younger. And look, when I first got here, my first season working for the team was 2011. Jason Avant was still coaching here, or was still playing here. You kind of got the sense that he had a potential future in coaching, just watching him work with his teammates on the sideline, seeing the work that he put in, knowing the kind of player he was. So not a shock to see him kind of take to this like a duck to water.
Well, and he's gotten into the trampoline park business, but because of COVID, they've been shut down, which means he has all of this time to be working with the team. And of course, he's quite familiar with this rivalry with the Giants. Has played in it 14 times, an 8-6 record. Fran, what stood out to you about Jason as a receiver?
I mean, outstanding hands. That was the big thing with Jason. He was a great route runner, but his hands were some of the best. I remember a game, 2012, Nick Foles' first win as a rookie. Tampa Bay Bucks on the road. He made this crazy one-handed catch. You know, before Odell Beckham made the one-handed grab falling away, that was Jason Avant a couple years earlier.
Yeah, that's what every Eagles fan should be thinking of when they think of Jason Avant. All right, Eagles fans, I know you're wondering if you can still get a fan cutout. The answer is yes. Don't miss your chance to be in the stands at Lincoln Financial Field this season. Eagles fan cutouts are still available. Cutouts are just $100, and all net proceeds benefit the Eagles Autism Foundation. You can order yours at philadelphiaeagles.com/cutouts. Fran, it was kind of fun last week to see fans interspersed throughout the cutouts. Did anyone find yours? Whoa! So you found yours. Did anyone take us? Is there another one over there, or is it here tonight?
No, this is just me tonight, and he's really happy that there are fans in the stands, but really excited to be here on the show with all of us as well.
I'm going to do my best Dave Spadaro impression and say I think that fell a little flat. All right, on the other side of this quick break, we will share our final thoughts on the Eagles Giants. Stay with us. Philadelphia Eagles and Axalta Coating Systems are building a roster of all-pro teachers. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Axalta All-Pro Teachers to learn more. Ooh, look at this. Look at this Eagles car. I was in the I pulled into the parking lot last week behind this car. I was wondering who it is, and it is Jalen Mills. I should have known. The swaggiest guy on the team. Of course he has a car with that green light coming out the bottom. And Lane Johnson ready to get back on the field tonight after missing last week's game. Best right tackle in the league, ready to pave the lane on Thursday Night Football. I love it. All right, it is now officially 15 minutes to kickoff of the Eagles-Giants. Fran, everyone should know by now what that means, but if anyone is new around here, Fran, let them know.
Yeah, there's 15 minutes left until kickoff, and you could spend those 15 minutes by saving 15% or more on your car insurance by switching to Geico. It's as simple as that.
You know it. All right, it is time to get set for this division battle. We will be right back here as soon as the game ends to break it all down for you on the post-game show presented by Rico. As always, Ike Reese will join us for instant reaction, as well as coach and players live. For now, an NFC East classic, the Eagles and the Giants on Thursday Night Football. We'll see you on the other side.